I realized, like, that was lame right when I said I'm M. Like,
it took a minute. That's what we're going to be talking about today, though, is the self and of the conscious. And what's your name?
I don't know, man. What's my name?
Maddie.
Maddie, okay.
And I'm Erin.
Alright. We are not practicing social distancing.
We are not, but we haven't
Live
been
and in
doing it with
action.
each other for like a month.
You're right.
But I brought you over today because I wanted to talk about the ego with you.
Yeah, man. Okay. Alright.
Oh, God.
How are we gonna kickstart this? We want to talk about ego.
Ego. So, like, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the thing I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
About, like, you know, that, not the hierarchical thing, but, like, you know, where, like, the ego develops as you, like, develop yourself. And how the ego becomes more developed after the age of, like, 6 or 7, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I, and maybe even you sometimes, haven't even stepped out of that boundary yet. Especially me, internally.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, I don't know, let's talk about that, like, chosen one thing that we were talking about, like, maybe, like, a week ago.
Okay. I don't know. I just feel that if you were born in 1999, I feel like you're just meant for something. Like, I don't know. It's like one of those, like, meme feels where it's like, I don't know, I just feel like I have, like, superpowers. It's kind of like...
Some Sky High type shit.
No, it's kind of like, you know, when you're in the shower and you, like, get the water and you feel like it's, like, you know, you're, like, water bending, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's, like, I think, like, I feel it, but I know in my heart that I'm not, but I feel it that it could be a thing for me.
That's funny, because when I was, like, I don't know if I've told you about this, because we knew each other when I was feeling this way.
Yeah.
When I was, like, 6 or 7 or 8 or some shit.
Fuck,
you know that
man.
movie, The Little Vampire?
Yes.
I had convinced myself that I was maybe a vampire.
Fucking hell, man.
You know?
Yeah.
I remember singing a little song, like, and I think my dad might have walked down the stairs.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I have a very vague memory of it. So I'm not even sure if it's real or if I was just having some weird-ass fever dream. But I remember being in, like, my little parlor-esque living room holding a little paper heart and being like, if I am a vampire.
Oh my god! Yo, I never knew. That's so crazy.
It's something I try to repress.
Of course. Naturally, we all have those things. We do.
We do.
Fuck, we do. And unfortunately, we were both present for a majority of the things we want to repress. So we have to, like, live it over and over again.
We just gotta think about it.
Every time we look at each other. Yo. But yeah, man. I just feel like it's... My whole life, I've always felt very, like, detached. I felt like in the middle, always, like, very conflicted with how I feel, whether it be in the old head perspective of thinking or trying to be more in with, like, the younger generation. I've just always been caught directly in the middle of I'm in the middle of a generational gap, essentially. Like, the 90s and 2000s, yes, it's only a decade, but that is, like, that's a world of a difference. Mm-hmm. Like, it is. So it's, like, the way people thought back then and acted back then, I was raised on those things, but I was also very deeply in tune based off of, like, all the shit I've learned on the internet. I was also very connected to the youth and more modern ways of thinking and not being a fucking awful asshole. Like, you know what I mean?
Becoming woke.
I feel like that's, like, literally just growing up, like, but it's just, I feel like that's what everybody does, you know, you break off from your parents' general standpoint, but it's different. It's like, my sibling, my second oldest sibling is, like, 27. Like, come on now. Like, you know, like,
how
that's
old my
like,
brother
it's,
is. Yeah.
it's like, we're like, so, we were babies. I think we were accidents. Bitch, I think we were accidents, because our parents were too fucking old to be wanting to have our asses at that time. And they both had 2 kids. Both our parents had 2 kids before. They didn't. We were just
We just
blessing.
popped out. Yeah.
Well, baby blessing.
We love them either way.
We were, like, brought up around our siblings, but our siblings they were so much older than us. Like, there was a generational gap even within our siblings we got to hang out with.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, like, you know, especially the 1999 generation type thing. I was going to bring up the sibling thing, too. Wow, you're
on that fucking wave?
Okay, that was really bad, but, you know, woo.
You know what? We're here. And it happened.
But I really, you know, people are confused when, I feel like, when we talk to people who are either older or younger than us, they're like, oh shit, you're millennials. Yeah. And it's like, we're really not, though. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And it's not, you know, because I've always had a fucking computer, right? You remember coming to my house? Yeah. You have, yeah. I've always had a fucking computer. Yeah, man. So I'm a part of that computer era, which is really like the Zoomer fucking Gen Z generation.
Yeah. Because, like, I didn't start hitting the internet till I was, like, my mom didn't let me be independent till I was, like, 13 on the internet. So, like, I was around that. Like, you started around, like, when YouTube started. But I started around, like, when my mom allowed me to have some freedoms.
Like, you know, like, died.
You know, like, yeah. So.
And, you know, it's just weird because, like, culturally it's weird. We're stepping away from egotism, and now we're talking about culture, and specifically internet culture.
But it all links back to feeling like you're just torn between, because it's like both of those different generations will tell you that you're mature for your age. The ones below us and the ones above us will tell us that we're mature for our age. It has impacted how we act and how people think that, like, anything like below 95, like 1995, anybody who was born after that is, like, just brain dead. And I'm like, no, man. Like, that's what, like, the higher-ups tend, or, like, not the older people tend to think, is, like, after 95, everything went to shit. But, man, I think the 99 people are really holding down the fort, honey.
And you know what? I feel like when people say after 95, things went to shit, it's partially rooted in racism. Because that's when, like,
there's
AAVE.
so many levels to the shit.
Yeah. That's when that, you know, what's, I think is coined African American vernacular, you know, started kind of taking off with.
For sure. Yeah.
Where, like, you know, more, like, black slang and,
yeah, because hip-hop was really fucking taking off, like, around that time, so.
And even, like, fucking in the early 90s.
Like, 80s even, but, like, it
rock and roll!
But, like, well, yes, of course, but, like, specifically for, like, black people, rock and roll, yes, black people made that, but, like, like, for black people, music for black people that was publicly broadcasted for black people, stuff like the Straight Outta Compton's type shit, you know, around, like, closer to the 90s. Like,
kind of like that death row shirt.
Area. Yeah.
Throw shit, not death row shirt.
Yeah, like that sort of, that I could see how there would be a spike in it then, because it was more publicly broadcasted to white people. White people, it was more in their face. It doesn't exist unless white people know about it. It's not a thing until white people know about it. And that's just embedded in everything we do. But back to being fucking the chosen ones. I think it is our job to, as we're procreating at our age, in our age group, it is definitely our job to have kids when we choose to, and try to teach the generation we birth to do better. Like, it's our job to do that, to be the people that kind of get shit back in order, I think.
That means we have to, like, redefine culture, too.
Essentially, yes, we have to flip every fucking thing, because the kids are looking to us for a little bit of guidance, because they're not looking to people older than us, which is, like, I would say, honest, like, they're not looking to anyone above 30. They're not, so.
When my brother-in-law says shit, sometimes I'm even like,
yeah, like, if you're, I'm sorry, but if you're like, you aged out. You fucking aged out. Your thought processes are a little bit dated if you haven't been up to date, and if you haven't been educating yourself, if you've just been in the same thought process. It's a constantly changing world. You have to keep educating yourself, and people aren't, so it's our job to educate and, like, really help guide people.
Can you explain your definition of education?
Just, like, teaching how to function with mental health in this world, because that is what is fucking the shit up so bad. Like, if you genuinely teach your child how to deal with their mental health in a safe environment where they feel protected and they feel comfortable enough to come up to you and talk to you about whatever, it's important to have households like that where we can all communicate with each other. Like, trying to implant proper communication skills, because that's what ruins relationships, that's what ruins business everything. Not communicating properly. We need to communicate with each other.
That's a good reformed cultural thought, too, is putting importance on, like, social and emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know if you know what Alibaba is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's like that website. It's basically like Chinese, like Amazon or whatever. I'm pretty sure. Like, the dude who created it was like, you know, fuck teaching kids about math and science anymore. Teach them how to be there for each other type of thing. I'm probably getting this completely wrong, but I think that's a big part of, like, culturally redefining, like, a new generation. Is teaching them empathy and sympathy. And, you know, people talk about that shit all the time, but especially now with, like, our generation. Our generation we have never had a time in our life where we have not been in a high stress situation. And older people don't want to recognize that, because after
that's so true. Yeah.
After, like, the mid-90s, we have never had a fucking break. And I get it, we were children. We probably were kind of oblivious to what the fuck was going on. But the world around us has been constantly fucked up since 99.
Yeah.
So we have our family, our world has never had a fucking break since we were born.
Yeah. I definitely think that we recognized, kids know when there's something going on that's different or that's wrong. Like, maybe kids don't understand the severity of coronavirus right now for this generation. Maybe they're not getting it fully, but they know the effects of not seeing their friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew that when I was watching the inauguration of Obama, that there was some gravity there. I was like, oh, this is new. This is different, you know?
That's interesting.
Even though I was like 8, I still recognized the gravity. 9? I was like 9.
We were 8 or 9.
8 or 9,
because it's 2008.
Yeah, so we were like maybe 9.
Yeah, we were 9. We were 9. You're correct, because it was November.
Yeah, because we're a year above. Yeah, oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah. Like, kids know when significant things happen, the gravity of, like, the change and the shift in emotion. Kids feel things and kids understand even if we don't tell them straightforward what's going on.
I got a question for you, though.
Okay.
It was popping to my mind. I remember talking to my mom about 9/11. You know, and, like, even though I have no memory, I have no memory of that shit. Yeah. My mom specifically remembers pulling me out of school, and that, like, the preschool teachers were, like, crying and shit.
Yo.
And, like, they were, like, just fucking shoving us into cars, like, just go the fuck home.
Oh my god.
And I, you know, because a lot of people remember shit from when they were, like, 3.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
I wish I remember that shit.
Yeah, I don't remember much about that. I was like, we were like 2 or 3. I was like 2, I think. Was I?
You were 2. We were 2.
Yeah, we were 2. And like,
I went to preschool early. Holy shit.
yeah, I was like, dang, school at 2 years old, because I was 2.
My parents just were fucking doing that 9 to 5 shit, so they're like, just put her ass in preschool.
True. Yeah, do what you gotta do. But, like, I don't know. I remember, like, from what I remember, and the reason why I know this is, like, probably the same day, my mom was telling me that she was sitting in the recliner watching the news as it was happening, or, like, as they were, like, updating. And I walked up to her, and while she was crying, and I asked her what was wrong, and she picked me up and, like, just kind of moved me away from the TV. I remember that happening because I remember walking in, and I've always had this vivid memory of my mom sitting in the recliner in front of the TV, sobbing. The TV's always been black when I'm looking at it, but she's sobbing, and I remember, like, the sun coming through the blinds and stuff, and how it, like, was on my skin, the sun on my, like, arm.
Chills.
So, like, and I remember feeling her picking me up. So, like, I have, like, a vague memory of what I assume to be 9/11, that what happened and how it impacted me. But even then, I knew there was something wrong because my mom was crying. And I've always had that little thing in the back of my head where it's like, my mom was crying on the recliner. Like, what?
You have a really good emotional intuition, which is something I really like about you, because I do not. Someone's crying, I'm like, you good?
Yeah, man.
You know?
It'd be like that, yeah.
So, like, I'm really glad that you connect your memories to emotion.
Yeah.
Like, because that's a very, I honestly got chills. I have one similar story. It's not about 9/11, but, you know, I don't know if this, you might have done the same thing where, like, my mom's mom died, like, a year before I was born or whatever. I remember asking her about Mimi, and I just, oh my god, I remember her just looking at me and then crying, and my dad just being like, bud, let's go upstairs.
Oh, jeez, man.
And, like, you know, it's interesting because, you know, when your parents cry, it's really hard to forget that type of shit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, now we're stepping away from egotism and going more into, like, that empathy, sympathy type feeling.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, you see your dad cry, you see a dad cry, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
You know?
I feel that. It's like, I don't know, just even me from a young age, it was like, I knew my mom wasn't a superhero. I was able to be like, even at like as young as like 8 or 9 years old, be able to be like, yeah, no, like, her feelings are completely valid. Like, I don't know, you know, like, what is that? Like, I've always thought that way. Like, I've always thought that way where it's like, I understand that she's stressed because I broke her favorite thing because I wouldn't. So, you know what I mean? Like, I was able to do that and not, like, freak out about things so easily. I was able to, like, I had the ability to be empathetic at a very young age. And at a very, very, very early age, where, like, a lot of kids don't think about things the way that I thought about things. And like go ahead.
I'll say, I don't even think that I thought about things the way you like about things. Even now, currently, like, I struggle with empathy. And, like, I don't know, like, I'm not a dick.
Yeah.
You know, but it's sometimes hard for me to put myself into someone else's perspective.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're better about that. You're a good mediator. You're very good at, like, understanding people, which is something that, like, I personally struggle in. So that's why, like, I'm interested by this topic of egotism, because I feel like I experience it a lot. And I don't know, I like being friends with you because I like having that understanding. You're my understanding side. Because, like, honestly, if I have a problem, I'm like, I don't get this person, and I'm kind of mad at them. And I need to talk to someone who will understand their side, and maybe my side too, because I don't even understand myself and why I'm mad. I just know that I don't get why they're being a bitch. You know?
Yeah. It's just, I grew up having to, like, diffuse situations, and, like, I grew up having to, like, put myself in the middle of adult conflict to, like, try to help better things. Like, I remember I was, like, probably about 2 or 3, and I remember I was trying to diffuse a conflict between my mom and my dad, where he was, like, getting really aggressive. So it's, like, I've always had the ability to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys just both see things from 2 completely different perspectives. It was just a misunderstanding. Y'all don't have to be pissed off at each other right now. Like, that's just the only reason why. And it's more so out of a convenience for me. Like, stop fucking arguing because I don't want to deal with it either. So it's still all, like...
It's all trauma related.
It is trauma. It's trauma related for sure. So it's just like, yo, y'all just chill out. But, like, so that's how I'm so easily able to, like, understand. But also, while I'm able to be empathetic and understand...
Sorry, that wine is bad.
It's all good. While I'm able to be empathetic and understand your point of view, I'm also very closed off. And you describe me as a cat a lot of the time. I am a cat. I don't fuck with a lot of people. Very reclusive. To myself, I can't deal with a bunch of people. So it's like, you know, it's just, that's how I'm able to do that, is because I was, like, placed in situations where I had to. And now I'm, like, kind of straight-faced about people's feelings, because I learned that caring about people's feelings a lot of the time, to the point to where you feel like you need to do something, or it puts you in a lot of compromising positions. So, like, I've learned to self-isolate.
I know.
Just before the coronavirus.
I know we talked about, like, I don't know, I think we only had this conversation once about both of us being emotionally stunted in different ways. Mm-hmm. And I think you're not losing your empathy, but, you know, you're becoming more empathetic towards it because it's a trauma-related stressor.
Yeah.
You know, you did it based out of trauma. Now that you're being an adult and you're changing, now you're just like, fuck it. But you never had the chance to, like, grow it and have it become naturally. It was forced.
It was, for sure. Oh, yeah. It's like, I don't know, man. I think, like, to be selfish or to be narcissistic or to be, like, egotistical is to be in the most raw, natural state of who we are as people. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just how we're meant to act. If you look at animals and shit, that's how they act. Like, that's why we're like, oh, don't act like an animal. We just have we're the only beings on Earth with a consciousness, and we have to deal with that every fucking day.
That sucks.
So it's like, I don't automatically think that somebody who's a narcissist or someone who's, like, fucked up like that is automatically, like, the worst person in the world, because I'm like, just the way you were brought up, man, like, I don't know, the way your brain came together, you just are in the most raw, natural form of what it means to be a human.
Now, I'm going to bring up something that might not be natural. You know, it is natural, but in, like, a different way. You know, I see this brought up a lot where people are like, people who have, you know, depression and, like, anxiety and, like, eating disorders, like, they're super fucking narcissistic. Mm-hmm. And they may not like themselves, but they focus solely on themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, do you feel the same way about that?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. There's no way you can hate yourself without
thinking about yourself.
Most
of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think maybe that the way, you know, that you're becoming a little bit more reserved might be because an adult now and a little depressed.
I mean, I've always been, like, by myself, though. I was homeschooled, so, like, it's just natural for me to be by myself. People cause conflict. People equal conflict. So, like, I just kind of be chilling. And if I find, like, a new person that's fun, I'm like, cool, we can hang out, and it'll be cool. But, like, I don't have a bunch of people in my life. I don't feel safe that way. Comfortable, I guess.
People not only equals conflict, this kind of goes into it. People also equal competition. Have you noticed that? I think we talked about it recently with someone named Kay.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, like, competition's important, though. Like, that's something that's actually important, where it's like, yeah, you're kind of being a dick, but, like, I guess by, like, trying to undercut, but that's just, it's a part of the fucking shit. Because, like I said, I was like, competition was bound to come around eventually. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's just what happens, man. So, like, I don't look at other people as competition. I'm in my lane, you're in yours. We're probably both gonna get to the same destination around the same fucking time at the end of the day anyway. Mm-hmm. So you can try to be an asshole and, like, cut in front of me all you fucking want to, but that's okay.
You're still gonna go speed limit.
Exactly. So, yes, people do equal competition, but competition doesn't have to mean something negative, even though that was a dick move. But that's just, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, to be like, oh, yeah, like, that's not negative, but he's still a dick. But, like, it makes sense to me in the sense of, yeah, like, you can do that, but I'm not fazed. Mm-hmm. You know, like, that was just an asshole move, and I think you should know that. Like, that's all it is. Just like, oh, you're just kind of a dick, and that was it.
Just more of an easygoing attitude towards it.
Yeah, it's like, because if you're constantly pressed and bent out of shape about things, you're shaving years off of your life for these motherfuckers. And I don't have time for that. I don't have time.
Listen, he still owes me money and I'm still pressed.
No.
You know what? I'm gonna die when I'm 30.
You know, I understand. No, for real. It just be like that, man. It's just, people are just dickheads sometimes. And that's just, I genuinely feel like that's how we're supposed to act. But because we're so, like, superior to other species on this planet, and we've got all these nice things, and we've got all these systems and all these rules in place, we just don't, our most natural state is, like, just
niceness.
I guess. Not really, though.
Well,
our most natural state is, like, current day, it's supposed to be, oh, you're supposed to not be crazy. You're supposed to be, like, nice to people, not trying to undercut, stuff like that. But that's a part of survival. Like, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, somebody fucks you over because they're trying to, like, make money. Mm-hmm. They need money, or they need something. So it's, like, just a way to get ahead. And that being selfish is very human to me. So it's like, yeah, that inconveniences me. And that's why you have to know how to pick up on red flags from people, too. You can't just blindly introduce people into your life. Mm-hmm. It's all about being guarded, I think. Understanding, like, yeah, I can, like, introduce new people into my life, but the second they start showing that they're probably not going to be consistent, or they're probably going to be annoying or frustrating or whatever, then I should cut them out, or, like, arm's length, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that was, like, that's something you have to learn, too.
Yeah.
You know, because we were talking about your traumas, our traumas,
yeah.
conjoined traumas.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I feel like as children especially, it's like, fuck it, I'll be their friend. They just called me ugly. Fuck it.
Right?
I want to play dinosaurs.
Right. And I feel like that's around a time where you're, like, not being quite as, I think that's a time where it starts getting snuffed out, that cockiness, that sense of, oh, like, well, that affects me and that shouldn't happen. Like, that shit goes away when you enter school, because that's the way that the system works. That's the way the shit works. It's like when you're interacting with other kids who you've never met before, and they're coming up to you and they're like, "You're ugly." And you're like, "Oh, my mommy says I'm pretty." It's like you finally have that chance to be challenged. Mm-hmm. So like you can either be challenged when you're a kid and still have that sternness and be like, "I'm still the shit. I don't care what anybody says." Or you can be that kid like me, or even like you, where it's like, "Well, fuck, I guess, okay, I'm just going a hole."
Guess I'm ugly.
Guess I'm ugly. All right.
No, so like, in middle school, I remember.
I had to quit. I had to go.
I'll give it your cheese.
Homeschooling. Fuck middle school. Could not do it. I was not strong enough.
I just remember in middle school. So like I slouch.
Yeah.
And like I slouch.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a little bit more fat, especially with my face, because
we're children. We're babies.
But like because I had
easy, man. Yeah. Fucking hate it.
I still have a baby face, you know.
I'm fat, so I don't fuck.
We just baby.
We baby.
But I had a lot more fat right here, and I slouched, and some dude was just like, "Look at you with your no neck having ass." And I was like, "I have a neck. It just goes away when I do this." Oh.
Dang, man.
Kids are mean.
Yeah, like I'll never forget my 5th grade crush. I think this is when I gave up on school.
Yeah.
My 5th grade crush, man. I loved the hell out of this boy. Well, I didn't love him, but I was like, oh, he's really cute and stuff, and I always wanted to talk to him. And he told me that I looked and sounded like Chowder.
Who was this?
I can't remember. I think his name started with a J. I don't remember his name, but like I remember that fucked me up.
It wasn't Jalen.
No.
It wasn't.
No.
Ooh, damn.
It was like a J name, like Jai something. I don't know. I don't remember his name, but I remember I had a crush on him. He was like skinnier, always had a shaved head, and like I guess I've always had a type. Oh my god. Skinny and taller than me and brown skin because he was beautiful to me. And he told me, like, it wasn't even like him being like mean. He wasn't even being mean. He was just like, you kind of sound and look like Chowder. And I was like, oh, all right then. And like, so you just don't have those moments when you're isolated, when you're young, when you're a child. But when you're more introduced to other people, you just get humbled so fast out here.
But see, the thing is, if you're soft, like we were as children,
so soft,
you just end up being a target, and it just ends up really killing on your self-esteem. And that's why we gotta boost these kids up.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, yo, like it's really our job to make sure that kids have a safe space to go to when they're going home. Because for us, we can't really fix shit right now. We can put things in order so that the future generations can do what they gotta do. But, like, we just gotta teach people how to function in a society and how to set themselves up financially better in the world, too. To know how to do basic things. Mm-hmm. Like, basic life skills. Like, come on now.
Because, like, I don't want to say shit. Because, like, honestly, but, like, even people who are around our age, even a little bit older, I look at them, and, like, I'm not saying I'm any better. Yeah. You know, like, I ain't saying I'm any better, but I look at them and I'm like, damn, you really don't know how to, you know, handle your money. Mm-hmm. You don't know what to do when you got it. And, like, sometimes shit, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But usually that's when I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And I imagine they're probably depressed too. But I look at people we both mutually know who get money from their parents.
Yeah.
Who are older than us and then just fucking blow it. And they're like, shit, I'm broke. And it's like, well, I wonder fucking why.
Yeah, man.
You don't have a job.
It's like, we also, both of us kind of had, like, we grew up with, like, a general knowledge of the importance of money and what to prioritize and what not to prioritize. Because, like, my mom was broke as shit. The lights was getting cut off and everything. We was struggling. And then your parents just knew how to budget. Your parents just liked doing, like, thrift stores and, like, doing their yard sales and stuff. So they found most of what they like at discounted prices. So, like, we both had a general understanding of how to, like, handle money, even though we don't use those tools some of the time. Like, whenever we're like, it's like, fuck it, I'm young, whatever, I'm just gonna spend this money on this shit because I want to. Like, we all do those things, but we have a general understanding of, okay, well, this money has to go towards this because this is important.
Now, I am kind of, like, worried, because, like, my view is that when I spend a bunch of money on shit I don't need, I'm usually in a bad place. So I look at these people who are either older or younger, Gen Z, millennial, whatever the hell, and I'm like, they're spending all this money. Are they okay? Or were they just not raised? Sorry. Like, it's okay. Were they just not raised to budget, or are they depressed? Because, you know, you see all this shit about, like, fucking Zoomers. Like, I don't know if they're being for real or not. Where they're all talking about how they want to, like, off themselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, just,
Yeah, it's Lil Peep. People like that. People like XXX, Tentacion. Like, man, it's, like, those artists, artists like that, it's a very good representation of how dependent this generation here. Shows like Euphoria, they show you, hey, like, the kids are dependent on medicines and drugs and alcohol to be happy because they're not happy. So that just shows you that they need better home lives at the end of the day. It all just comes back to, we just need to protect the kids because they're all trying to kill themselves because they hate themselves. They don't feel loved, or whatever it is that's going on, or they don't feel safe, or whatever. And I understand that some versions of mental illness, like, no matter how comfortable you are at home, it doesn't matter. But, like, because it's like, you're just at a point where you're just like, it doesn't even fucking matter. But it's important to still have that if you
a good, healthy household and a support system will at least be able to spot problems before they get bad.
And also, like, have your fucking money together before you have kids. Like, your kids, I am so, like, it's good to know things about the importance of bills and stuff, but I would have much rather preferred not having the lights shut off on me. And, like, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, would have much rather preferred not having to deal with things like that. Not because it's, like, an inconvenience, but because as a parent, it's your job to make sure that your kid has every fucking thing they could possibly ever need. Everything. And that's where a lot of people slip up. And that's where a lot of people get fucked up later on in life because they just didn't have solid home lives where people could take care of them. It's like, try, before you consciously make the decision to have a kid, also try to make sure that you have what it takes to the monetary aspect of it, because they are a bill. That is a whole new bill that you have to take care of. Thousands of dollars a month. Can you cover it? If not, weigh your options, baby. I don't know what to tell you. Do what you gotta do. Because y'all both gonna be struggling. And that's not cute. That doesn't build strong mental health for anybody. And it's important. Like, of course, there are gonna be people that have kids that can't really afford to have them, but they still have loving households. And that's important. Because my mom couldn't really afford, but I was still loved, and I was still cared for and taken care of. So, like, you know, if you can't do all of it, at least do some of it, but try to make the effort to get yourself into a place for when you're deciding to have kids, you can take care of them so that they can be functioning members of society who can take care of you instead of killing themselves when they're 14.
Because then who else is going to put your ass in a nursing home when you ain't got money?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You can't, this isn't a lotto ticket. It's not a scratch off. That's a baby. You can't just hope that they're going to be a basketball player and that they'll have you set by the time you're 75. Like, you can't. You can't do that. That's not how kids work. It's not. Y'all still going, if you're struggling now, you'll struggle till the day you die.
And that's generational poverty, baby.
Big fucking bets, man. It's fucking crazy.
And we see it.
And that's why I was saying, like, at least if it is a situation where, like, you can't afford them, at least educate them on how to handle money and how to pay bills and how to write a check. Shit like that. Like, general shit like that.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go into my education degree a little bit.
Okay, then.
And I'm gonna talk about how there's also a big problem with school systems. I get that you were homeschooled, you know, for middle school
because
and high
there's
school.
a big problem with school systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, I was lucky enough to be smart until I hit, like, age 16.
Sheesh,
So,
yeah, man.
I was in AP classes. I was able to get what I needed. But, like, you go to, like, when I did my internship for my history education program, you know, like, those kids weren't learning shit. I went to standard classes in rural North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they weren't learning anything. Homeroom, they're literally leaving. This is a high school, like, sophomore homeroom class. They were listening to an audio recording of a 3rd grade level book.
Yeah.
Because most of them were fucking illiterate. And that is a really big fucking problem.
Yeah.
So, like, if the kids...
Yeah, man.
I'm drunk. Did we mention
we're also intoxicated. I think we're holding ourselves pretty well, though.
We are. But
I
not...
need more, but, you know.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot.
Sorry, I gotta look. Okay, there you go.
2 shots.
2 shots.
But yeah, so.
But, like, I don't know. It's just, like, I'm not gonna be a teacher anymore. And the reason I'm not going to be a teacher anymore is because I don't think I can hold myself to standards to bettering a generation, which really sucks. Because it takes people who have the same perspective as me, but with a different type of drive to change kids' lives. And I can't do that shit.
Yeah.
Because I look at that and I know because of my, like, narcissism, egotism, that I would just get frustrated that these kids can't understand. And it starts at root level elementary education.
And that is the importance of knowing you when you're going to school. Yes. Know what the fuck you're capable of doing before you invest any money to these schools or to being in debt. Know your limitations before you do that. It's like, I knew my limitations. I knew my mental health couldn't handle college right after high school. I knew that, honest to God, I probably, like, wouldn't have cared about college if I had gone. So, like, I didn't want to be in debt automatic. Like, right as I'm turning into an adult, I'm in debt? Are you fucking kidding? No. So, like, I was like, I'm just gonna work, because I also had to get the fuck up out my mama house. I could not live there. So
Big facts.
I was like, I'm gonna just work full time. I love my mama. She won't a problem.
Still love her.
But, like, anywho, so, as I was saying, what was I saying?
You had to get the fuck out of your mama house, couldn't go to college.
Yeah, so I decided to take the work route because that was, like, something I knew that would provide a schedule for me, at least, so that I wouldn't fall into some really bad mental health state where I was just, like, constantly by myself thinking about my shit. Yeah. So, like, I just invested my whole life into work, basically. So, like, I wouldn't have to deal with that school shit yet. But just know what you want to do before you go to school so that you don't go to school for something like being a teacher and then get placed in a classroom full of kids who need you and then you can't fucking help them the way you need to help them.
See? And, like, I'm glad...
It's like being a doctor. It's important. Your job is important. know the severity of the situation.
Mm-hmm. You have to have the drive to be either. Both are equally important, but mine was really easy to back out of because I had that double major, so I could just do history, which is fine. But, like, I look at the same people who were in the classroom with me, and only, like, maybe a quarter of them had that drive. Had that want to change things, you know?
Yeah.
And it was painful.
Yeah.
I would listen to them and I'd be like, you really just want to be a teacher just because fucking what else can I do with a history degree? I was the same fucking way, but I was still like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm not going to be a teacher because I'm not going to be able to fix these fucking kids.
Yep.
But people like, you know, especially a high school teacher, like, you got to push college on these kids, and you know that half of these kids can't go to college.
Yeah, you're not just a teacher, like, forced to be like
you're a parent.
A life coach and a parent. Yeah. You're like a whole nother figure for them. A role model. You're a role model to the kids.
I'm holier. We're the chosen ones.
We're the chosen ones. Just in case y'all forgot, we're the chosen ones.
That's the title.
Get into it. Get into it.
If you're born in 99, baby, you already know what the fuck it is.
Right. I don't know, man. It's just important for us now to understand that we're right in the middle of the last wave of people, the last generation of people that are allowed to not give a fuck, and the generation of people that genuinely don't give a fuck and don't care about politics. They don't care about most things that are going on unless it has something to do with, like, racism or homophobia, which is very important, very, very important, and it is something that, you know, you need to teach your kids. Don't be horrible. What are you doing? But, like, it's just important to, like, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
It's important to teach your kids about, you know, kids don't really, you're talking about how our generation was allowed to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
But theirs.
Like, for the first half, they had us for the first half. We're allowed to not give a fuck for, like, the first half of our lives. But when it comes to procreating and going to school and, like, really setting a new, like, precedent for the future, which is what we're going to do now because of this pandemic shit. Like, this is the chance for some form of a reset for us to be able to self-reflect and analyze and be like, okay, this is what we need to do as the world, but, like, I'm speaking more so in our country, like America, to
America is an ego.
Of course, to try to better the generations after us, so that, because we got the privilege of being able to kind of have that thought process of, oh, whatever shit happens, it happens, kind of like what 30 and up people think most of the time, like my brother.
Kind of passive.
Yeah, kind of like, oh, whatever. And then, like, and then you have the people who are, like, I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I look at my little siblings, they're all so smart. They're Gen Z, like, obviously, but, like, they're so very smart, book smart. They just don't have common sense to save their fucking life. So it's like, we have to teach basic common sense shit and empathy. That's one of the most important things to push us forward, to get us, like, to a place where we're all functional. You can be as egotistical as you want to when we're all functional, because it doesn't affect us as much, because then we don't get fucked over quite as much by each other. It's a system. It's put in order for us to keep stabbing each other in the back. It's how it is.
I'm trying to place this correctly. Sorry, my eye's vibrating.
Fuck, are you good,
I'm
man?
cool. But, you know, they talk about how a well-formed society is one where almost everyone can make art, or where art is being made in copious amounts. And, you know, like, I feel like almost the inverse is true currently, We're not, especially during this pandemic, where, like, we're all super fucked up right now. And the only thing people can think of is to make art. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if, like, this is going to culturally move us forward after this, or kind of, like, oversaturate.
I think, like...
I don't know if that's a little off topic, but I guess that...
No, it's like...
My eye's vibrating, so I'm drunk.
Fuck. Renaissance paintings. We're gonna be creating, like, crazy art, like, that people look back on. So it's, like, really cool in that perspective. But it's, like, also about job markets. Mm-hmm. Like, people finally have that taste now. They've had that time to just shut down and to be creative and be more open, because the world is, like, quiet. So, like, once things starting back up again, I think we may see a shift in people wanting to do things, and maybe even job markets skyrocketing, where people don't have to do, like, they don't have to absolutely be a doctor in order to be successful. Mm-hmm. It could potentially change how we operate in a capitalist society, I guess. Mm-hmm. Even though, like, you're definitely going to be successful if you're a doctor, but, like, you could maybe possibly be successful if you're an artist, too. That could happen. I don't know.
One thing, continuing on this topic, one thing that also made me mad when I was in, like, my teaching classes is that these people in my classes would shit on kids who would want to be, like, an actor or, like, a basketball player or, like, a musician or some shit. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, how is that going to better yourself? And I'm like, well, in a way, they're making entertainment and they're bettering society. You know, I feel like that's kind of in relation to what we're talking about. Is now there's a skyrocket, like, people don't have to be book smarty kind of intelligent to, you know, in order to thrive. Yeah. Which is really important to, like, you know, kids can have dreams.
Yeah, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody's a fucking saint. It's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's like not everybody's gonna be super book smart, and that's okay. But, like, we just gotta teach them, man. Like, I don't know. People just stupid. We're all so stupid, and we're all out here without a clue. So it's like we just have to take our knowledge and really put it into our children to better the shit. Because plus, like, I don't know, like, teachers, it's their job to make sure that you make it in the world. So they're probably telling you, oh, how's that going to better you? Because they're basing it off of, in this society, you're not going to fucking make it as an actor. I'm sorry. You might need to pick something different to work with, because that's not going to get you very far. You're probably going to be homeless at some point if you don't, you know, like, it's their job to make sure that you have a realistic grounding on how the world operates. Teachers pick up where parents tend to, like, drop the ball and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But they're both also teaching you what the real world has in store for you once you graduate and once you turn 18.
You know, it's like a timeline where parents are, like, very, like, ambitious about your goals and your dreams. Like, when you're a kid, you're like, I want to be a fucking astronaut. Yeah. Or I want to be a cowboy. And they're like, yeah. But then you hit high school and you're like, I want to be a fucking astronaut. And they're like, do you really think you could be an astronaut?
Yeah, because they know they're like, oh, you cannot be an astronaut. I know your limitations.
You can't do algebra.
I know your limitations, honey.
And it's like, it's good to put kids into a real world perspective, but I feel like, you know, if we're going to be doing that, one, that gives less creativity, and two, if you want to start having a society like that, you gotta start them young. Yeah. If you want your kid to be a fucking doctor, you better tell them when they're 3 years old, maybe still shitting themselves, maybe still on the teat, like, you're gonna be a fucking doctor. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's what Indian people do.
Wasn't gonna say shit, but, you know.
Because, no, like, Asian people and Indian people, like, they do that shit. Like, this may sound racist, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm really not trying to be. But, like, it is in their culture to be like, okay, that's fun that you have dreams, but you can't function if you're following that dream, because that's not gonna, you're not gonna live, you're not gonna function outside of this household.
And you wanna know why they do that? You wanna know why they do that?
Because they're preparing people.
Not only are they preparing people, but because family is so important in Asian cultures. Because it's like, once you're functional, now you have to take care of your parents. You can't just drop them off. You have to take care of them. True. So they're like, we're making you better because we're selfish.
Dang. I didn't think about it that way.
You know,
but that is how it should be still.
Yeah.
I think it should be that way for everybody. Not like you have to be better because you need to take care of us, but you need to be better because you need to take care of the future.
Mm-hmm.
This needs to be functional for your life. That's the way I look at it. I wouldn't look at it in the sense of, I need you to take care of me. I would never look at my kid and demand they take care of me. But, like, and that's just, like, difference in cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know, my family's all broke the fuck up. So, like, I don't really have a strong sense of what family means
dispersed.
either. Yeah, dispersed. What does that mean? I'm kidding. It's an inside joke. Anyway, okay, so.
Separated.
Separate. Anywho. So, it's just, like, it's important that we tell, like, the future generation all the tips and tricks of how to, like, get around things and stuff like that, how to function, so that we're all just, because we live in a society, and we're not getting out of that society. There's a chance that it could shift and change a little bit, but people need to have a more realistic point of view when stepping out, and I think that it's, like, that's like, having that more realistic point of view can be pegged as something that's, like, a negative thing, like, oh, you're just always pessimistic. But no. I'm just understanding.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Not pessimistic. Well, maybe, but realistic is a better word.
Pessimism and realism, I mean, being realistic are, like, two
sides of the same coin.
Basically, it's like, you can't be like, oh, that's, like, negative. It's not. It may be, but it's also a good thing.
Mm-hmm. It's just that true.
Yeah. You just have to protect yourself.
Also, it's almost been an hour.
Nice.
You want to go ahead and...
Yeah, man. I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah. This was fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
We've never recorded it before.
Yeah.
But I think we're properly sauced. So I feel
sure.
like that was a good talk.
For sure. It was a good time.
I'm going to upload it to YouTube.
Bless, man.
And then we can look at it forever.
Nice.
And we can see, you know, when we do this, we're going to be...
Okay, then.
Well, you've mainly been looking real good, though. Every time I've looked at you, I'm like, damn, she looks cute. So, you know, it's fine. But anyway.
You look good, too, though.
Thanks. I put on makeup.
You look so nice. You look nice.
But, yeah, that's that. Thank you.
And that's a wrap.
And that's all wrap.